All right, here we go.
All right, so you've heard of inflation. Inflation, you know. Shrinkflation, and I don't mean going in the pool on a cold day or the excuse you give to your Tinder date. This is where you are paying the same amount for something, even though there's less of it. Okay. Now we've got flavorflation. Now, what is flavorflation? This is when a company raises its prices because of inflation, then lowers the quantity because of shrinkflation, and then lowers the quality because of flavorflation. Now, what is flavorflation? Well, basically, a lot of companies, it's like anything. Think of it like a show on the History Channel, right? You get the first season, it's super interesting, it's super awesome, Pawn Stars and Storage Wars and all this stuff. Even things like Shark Tank, right? It's an original concept, they have some real stuff going on, and you're really engaging. But then as time goes on, they start to have to fake it more, they start planting things, they start doing it because there's only so much you can do, right? Before it becomes, drawn out and old news. They do the same thing, okay? So I want you to think about a product, okay? And think about what happens to it, okay? First, you get the prices going up overall. Now, they'll say it's because of inflation, and maybe that's true, but then when inflation dips, the prices don't come down. So maybe it wasn't so much about gas and logistics, because shipping right now is super cheap unless you're in the Suez Canal, right? Gas is cheaper. There's no backlog. So all the prices that were increased because of logistics have gone away, but the prices stayed the same. Then they start shaving off a little bit, okay? Remember what one of the reasons the Roman Empire fell because of inflation, partially because people were shaving off coins. Fun fact, if you ever wondered why your all the coins, except for pennies and nickels, all the other coins have little ridges on the edge, is so that you can't slice off the outside. Because back when coins were made out of silver and gold, people would basically just take a little sliver off of each coin on the outside till they had enough to actually make some money. So they put the ridges there so you would know not that people aren't shaving off the metals. That was back when they made it out of silver. So shrinkflation. They start giving you the same price, the same product, but less of it. Right? So instead of 9 ounces of candy, you get 8.5 ounces. Just a small enough amount that you don't really notice because it looks like the same thing when you buy it, but they're saving tens of millions of dollars. Then you get flavorflation. This is when they start using cheaper ingredients. If you ever start noticing that as time goes on, especially in high inflationary environments, you start noticing things taste a little different or the quality goes down. They do this. It saves them a lot of money. But the best time to do it for them is when prices are already high and people aren't noticing the difference. Okay? This is something that has been going on for a long time, but it's hitting a new high right now. Just to give you guys an idea, in 2013, Breyers, okay? I know there's about to be an ice cream war in chat, but Breyers reduced the amount of dairy fat in its ice cream by enough that it no longer legally qualified as ice cream. Now, they came out and said, hey, this isn't for cost cutting, but their competitors came out and said, hey, if we did that, we'd save a lot of money. Okay? Chocolate producers, Hershey's, Mars, others, they've been replacing cocoa butter with palm oil or sunflower oil. If you notice that your chocolate's gotten a little bit more waxy, Ferrero in 2017 reduced the amount of cocoa in Nutella. That's right. In 2017, the amount of actual real cocoa that went into Nutella was decreased. But this has been happening at a much faster rate over the past couple of years as these companies are trying to squeeze out profits. Something that we have seen a lot of. For some of you guys, this is a big one for you older gents and ladies. If you remember in the 90s, I don't know how everybody who grew up in the 80s and 90s doesn't have diabetes. Okay, because everything was so full of corn syrup and sugar and crazy. But a lot of those, I mean, Coca-Cola changed their recipe, and I don't mean from actual cocaine. I mean the quality of ingredients. They do that. They do it over short periods of time because they hope that you just assimilate, right? And not like in a 1984 way, but just like assimilate into this is the new flavor. I just add cocaine back into my cola. That's not how it works. You actually have to. Similar to crack when you have to like boil it in a coffee maker and then cut it, you'll have to do the same, but you're going to have to mix it with the original Coca-Cola, but do it on a slow cook or a slow boil or simmer because you don't want it to turn syrupy. And what you have to do is then you have to immediately pour it over ice, okay? Then take the melted water and ice and slow simmer it again as it separates, but the enzymes will do that, and then you can pour it back in your Coca-Cola, okay? All right. We know that aspartame, which was used to replace sugar, is also getting a new makeover as well. We know that a lot of stuff that was going on. Maple syrup is another one, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Aunt Jemima used to contain sugar, maple syrup, food coloring, and potassium sorbate, okay? Now contains no maple syrup. Just like almost all the honey you eat is not real honey. It's a knockoff from China. Some people call it skimpflation. I don't use that word very often. But remember how we always talk about the inflation numbers when we get our inflation report and it's not always accurate because they can often change what they use to qualify, right? Like beef can go from a steak to ground beef if they want without actually acknowledging that. But this also goes into these same things, right? For example, if a candy bar goes from 8 ounces to 7.5 ounces, and it's the same price, then in inflation numbers, it's going to show that inflation is flat. While in fact, you're paying more for less. Does that make sense? Also, if it costs less for the company to make it because they use cheaper ingredients or change the formula, that also doesn't equate into inflation because technically we're like, oh, well, we're paying the same for the same product, even though the PPI, the producer price index, is lower. Bidenomics. What the f does... Dude, Coca-Cola changed their recipe in 1984. What are you talking about, bro? Thanks, Obama. No, that was 2017 when Nutella did it. Actually, Trump was in office. All right? Here's another example. I'm going to give you guys examples of flavorflation. Anybody here use... Smart Balance margarine? ConAgra, the large food producing company, recently reduced the amount of vegetable oil in Smart Balance from 64% to 39% and replaced the difference with water. Regardless of if you think you're eating too much vegetable oil or not, imagine buying something and finding out that a third of it has been replaced with water and you're paying the same price. Bakers know. This has happened to some products too. Toothpaste and mouthwash. One unnamed brand of mouthwash cut its sodium fluoride in its bottles in half last year. Okay? Now, whether you think that's a good thing or not because of your take on fluoride and your third eye and the calcification of your third eye and how they're using it to put you to sleep so you don't see the Matrix, that's still selling you the same product for a higher price. And now, not only are they selling it for a higher price, cutting the amount, but also cutting what's in it. Yet you will continue to pay the same amount. And the craziest thing is, not surprisingly enough, is that due to lobbying from big food, they are not legally required to tell you about these changes. They have to change the ingredients on the label, but they don't have to tell you that they're changing it. So there you go. Flavorflation is real, and it is here. A Gibson Les Paul used to be $200 in the 50s. Now they're $5,000. Have you guys seen the used Rolex resale chart? Down big time, which used to be a big indicator of an economy. How do you stop flavorflation? I mean, you can't stop it. You can always, buy the store brands that generally take a while to catch up.